Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for a session on creating achievement gap goals. We're excited to help you connect your school counseling program to academic achievement through goal setting. Whether you're just starting your journey implementing the ASCA National Model or you're refining a seasoned program, we hope you walk away with something actionable today. Here's just a quick reminder that these materials and content are the intellectual property of the American School Counselor Association and its presenters. If you'd like to reuse or share any of the materials beyond personal use, please be sure to get prior written permission from ASCA. Okay, let's take a look at the objectives for our time together. By the end of this session, our goal is that you will be able to look at big picture school data and be able to identify a subset of students who need support. As you identify students who need support, you'll be able to name the criteria students will meet to be included in the goal. And through goal setting, you'll be able to identify specific outcomes that are simple to analyze and report. A key foundational feature of the ASCA National Model is measuring the school counseling program's impact on students. We're continually focused on creating change in our students and helping to improve outcomes for each and every student in the building. And why are we constantly measuring change? We measure change so that we have data that drives our planning, our goals, and our interventions. We measure change to validate student outcomes and connect them to the work of the school counseling program. And we measure change to demonstrate our impact and communicate to our partners the value school counselors add to the school environment. As we consider measuring change, we look at specific measurements that help us understand our impact on big picture results. One result we're focused on is access. Access to the school counseling program for each and every student in the building, and access to programs and opportunities outside the school counseling program that support their success. As school counselors, our aim is to engage each and every student in Tier 1 school counseling activities, provide interventions to support students with Tier 2 needs, and address barriers to student success. We measure access through participation data. For life readiness, we want to ensure students have the knowledge, attitudes, and skills to find academic success, plan, prepare, and achieve their post-secondary goals, and be secure in their social emotional development. The school counseling program enhances each and every student's mindsets and behaviors for life readiness by aligning with the ASCA student standards. Life readiness increases as students attain the ASCA student standards, and this is measured through pre-post assessments collecting ASCA student standards data. And finally, we measure change in academic success. The school counseling program is designed to ensure each and every student achieve their highest academic potential. The school counseling program identifies students with specific needs and provides support aligned to those needs. This support includes addressing factors that contribute to achievement gaps, such as attendance, discipline, school climate, and systemic issues. School counselors measure academic success through achievement data, and that's what we'll focus on today. In the 5th edition of the model, achievement data is specifically defined for us. We look at traditional grades, so for example, 7th grade students at risk of failing math. We look at standards-based grades, so perhaps 2nd grade students not meeting grade level expectations for standards at the end of the first quarter report card. And we also look at benchmark assessments like reading on grade level, promotion and retention data, students who are on or off track for graduation, and finally, we look at standardized test scores. School counselors deliver programs, lessons, and activities that directly target and increase these measures. But you also may be thinking about other important factors that the school counseling program can address, like attendance, discipline, and mental wellness. How do these connect? The 5th edition of the ASCA National Model provides a continued focus on access and success for each and every student and introduces a greater focus on achievement. And we now recognize attendance and discipline as contributing factors to academic success. School counselors analyze achievement data along with attendance, discipline, and data from other contributing factors like student and partner perspectives to inform strategies that support the school's student achievement goals. Contributing factors are any factors that impact student achievement. Attendance and discipline are the most common factors that people think of when they think of things that impact achievement. If these are the issues, we can focus our school counseling work on providing student support to increase attendance and decrease discipline. But we always want to be thinking back to our big picture result. How does this impact academic success and achievement? We also want to think about systemic issues. Are there barriers, policies, procedures, or habits in our school that make it more difficult for some students to achieve at the levels that we know they're able to? Student and partner perspectives also provide us more information on what might be contributing to achievement difficulties. We can ask students, teachers, parents, administrators, and our education partners what barriers exist to achievement for certain groups of students. With attendance and discipline identified as contributing factors to achievement in the 5th edition of the model, we shift our goal-setting focus to achievement gaps, and school counselors will work toward writing one achievement gap goal. So no matter the contributing factor students are facing, school counselors will make the connection back to achievement by writing an achievement-focused goal. Now to reach the goal, that's where the fun comes in. We can utilize strategies that might focus on attendance, discipline, systemic issues, or any of the other barriers you identify through student and partner perspectives. So let's say your school is focused on 8th grade students who have not passed your state standardized assessment. As you work to identify contributing factors to this issue, you note that many students who are not passing the standardized assessment have also missed a good bit of class time due to behavior infractions and behavior policies at your school. In this example, you would write a goal focused on improving standardized test score pass rates, but you might deliver interventions focused on increasing positive behaviors in the classroom. So how do we know what areas of achievement to focus on? First, we have to dig into the data priorities.
To start crafting meaningful goals, we first need to anchor them in what our school or district values. That begins with understanding the data priorities. Exploring data priorities is not new, but the updated streamline form will help you identify and focus on the achievement data to really make an impact. Let's take a closer look. So let's talk about how we set our school counseling program data priorities using the new template from the 5th edition of the ASCA model. This updated form makes it easier than ever to clearly align our work with what our schools and districts value most. This form is still completed annually. It helps identify your achievement gap and helps create and identify data points for each issue that the school counselor program can address. This is another place where the 5th edition strengthens alignment between school counseling goals and systemic priorities, encouraging counselors to link every goal directly to school or district strategic plans. A good way to get started is by talking with administrators to learn if your school has specific goals or a school improvement plan, and where to review district strategic plans, often posted on your district or State Department of Education websites. Step A, always know your district's plans or goals and align to it. Great PR strategy shows how school counselors are part of the team and gets buy-in for you to do school counseling specific work. Once we've identified our school's priorities, the next crucial step involves drilling down our data. The ASCA 5th edition emphasizes aligning counseling goals with district strategies. This ensures our work visibly supports broader educational goals. In this scenario, broad data example would be district priority is improving statewide reading proficiency. Our first example would be using 3rd grade reading proficiency. School-wide assessment data shows that several 3rd grade students scored below proficiency in reading on the beginning of the year assessment. This flags a general academic concern, foundational literacy skills. In step A of our process, we start broadly by identifying our district or school priorities, such as improving statewide math proficiency. Once we identify the broad priority, we have to look more closely as who is connected to this priority so that we can figure out who to identify for our goal work. First, you might look at a large group of students, for example. You might look to see what grade levels are represented in the school priority. Second, you may want to look at test performance, grades, or even student characteristics like gender or service program. Lastly, you can narrow even further by looking at specific scores or course failures. Now, as we move into step B, we drill down further to refine our focus to a whole subgroup. Where would we find this data? Knowing precisely where and how to find relevant achievement data is fundamental. The fifth edition clarifies that counselors must select and analyze achievement data directly linked to school-wide success measures. In our first example, we will talk about third grade. Rather than targeting all third grade students, we isolate those who specifically scored below proficiency on the beginning of the year reading test. This creates a clearly defined group based on one assessment at one time. Now looking at step C, using the checkboxes, identify the specific achievement data point or data points that the school counseling program will address. As we mentioned in example 1 with third grade, the school counseling program will address reducing the number of third grade students scoring below proficiency on the beginning of the year reading test.
So now we'll take a closer look at the new Achievement Gap Plan for the 5th edition. Why is this important? Well, it creates a plan for students who aren't meeting achievement goals or benchmarks. It helps us to focus on one data priority that aligns with the school or district goals. It also can change from year to year based on the school or district goals. However, if your school or district maintains the same goals for multiple years, you will still be looking at the data to identify year after year which subgroup of students might need help in meeting those goals. It also helps us look at contributing factors data, like attendance and discipline, that might be shared when appropriate. So the data that we're going to put into this plan comes from the school data priority sheet that you've just completed. The elements of the Achievement Gap Plan have not changed. As you can see, we still have an end date for the goal. We have multiple descriptors of our target audience. In section 3, we define will we increase or decrease the achievement metric. And then we state the achievement baseline data and the projected final data in section 4. So then we go on to write our goal. We take all the components from sections 1 through 4, and we use that to write the achievement goal for section 5 to incorporate all of the criteria. So let's look at an example. By May 2025, 6th grade students failing more than one subject on the first quarter report card, there are your multiple descriptors, will decrease the number of cumulative Fs, and that's our achievement metric, from 75 cumulative Fs to 60. That's our baseline to our projected final data. So now let's see what that looks like in a full goal. So we just write it the way that it goes through the boxes. By May 2025, 6th grade students failing more than one subject on the first report card will decrease the cumulative number of Fs from 75 to 60. So now let's look at some examples of goals and decide, does it meet the criteria? So this goal statement, reduce the number of core subject failing grades. Well, it does show achievement data, and it does give a description of a specific outcome to be changed. But you can see there are multiple elements that are missing. Therefore, it does not meet the criteria. Our next example, the goal statement, by June 2025, 11th grade students will increase their understanding of suicide prevention. This example does contain an end date, It does give us a description of specific outcome to be changed. However, it is missing multiple criteria. It is not it doesn't apply to achievement. It doesn't give us the multiple descriptors. It says 11th grade students, but that's it. And then we don't have a baseline or target data. Let's go on to our next example. Goal statement is 10th grade students identified with 2 or more D or F grades in the first marking period will increase their GPA by the end of the first semester. Well, in this one, we are getting closer. Here, we do have achievement data. We do have an end date, the end of the first semester. Our target group with multiple descriptors, 10th grade students with the failing grades, and a description of the specific outcome to be changed. We want to increase their GPA, but we don't have any baseline or target data. So this still does not meet the criteria for an achievement gap goal. So let's look at one more. In this example, it says, by May 20th, 2025, the 32 students in 6th grade who failed 2 or more subjects at the end of the first report card will decrease the cumulative number of Fs from 75 to 60. So looking at our criteria, it does have achievement data. We have an end date of May 2025. Our target group has multiple descriptors, 32 6th grade students who failed 2 or more subjects. And then, of course, we are going to decrease the number of cumulative Fs from 75 to 60, and that's our baseline and target data. So as you can see, it meets the criteria for a good achievement gap goal. Let's look at a few other exemplars. As you can see, the first one is by May 2025, 3rd grade students who scored below proficiency at the beginning of the year reading assessment will decrease the number of assessment scores below proficiency on the middle of the year reading assessment from 14 to 10. The last one is by December 2024, 9th grade students failing more than one course on the first progress report will decrease the cumulative number of Fs from 62 to 49. These are some examples of exemplar goals that you can reference back to. So our key takeaways. When you're creating an achievement gap goal, remember that your school counseling goal always needs to connect to the school and district priorities. All of the goals that we write are focused on achievement data. We will drill down in the data to create a focused group of students with whom we want to create an intervention. And then we follow the template to ensure that we're including all of the key elements and meeting the criteria for an outstanding goal. Here are a few resources that are updated for the 5th edition that you can use as references. And we hope that this helps you to create a fantastic achievement gap plan for the upcoming school year.